right turn, we're good.
Meet up at the compound group up.
At 10-4. Yeah, for sure, dog. Good, little driver, straight on through.
There are thousands of airstrips that are dirt, grass, and mud across the United States, Canada, and the world. Many of these are inaccessible to normal aircraft. There's a certain breed of pilot who wants to be able to land anywhere, either for sport or by pure necessity. They're bush pilots. We practice these skills so we can be safe off airport, so we can get into and out of the tight spots, the backcountry, and the unimproved fields. You'll now watch some of the best pilots in the world show you what they can do with as little as 50 feet. Not only can they take off and land off airport, they can take off and land anywhere. This is the Husky National STOL Series. The Husky National STOL Series is presented by Husky and Avion Aircraft, America's favorite tail dragger. McFarlane Aviation Products, thousands of parts, save thousands of dollars. American Legend Aircraft, not your grandfather's Cub. Duke Propellers, offering a wide variety of carbon-made propellers and rotors. Sarasota Avionics, the #1 aircraft avionics installer in the nation. Rugged Radios, the official communications provider of National STOL. Ladd Gardner Aviation Insurance, aviation protected. AirTech Coatings, we make paint fly. Sporty's Pilot Shop, learn to fly here. The Fat Tire Cowboys, an aviation adventure brand steeped in cowboy lore. And now, live from the south side of Sun and Fun Aerospace Expo's campus at this famous Paradise City Field in Lakeland, Florida, this is the 2022 Husky National STOL Demos.
Hello and welcome. My name is Eric Farewell and welcome to the Husky National STOL Demo Series here at Sun and Fun 2022. We are at Paradise City. It is a beautiful day, blustery and glorious as you might expect for a April day in Florida when the weather is just never quite what you expect. But we do have a great demo for you tonight along with some really interesting different types of aircraft joining us. We have the things you'd expect to see, your Super Cubs, etc. But we have some other stuff that we're going to be playing with and I'm very excited to see the results. And as always, STOL at Sun and Fun. What is better than that? The crowd is out. I see people smiling. I see people holding signs and hiding. I think we've got a great opportunity here to showcase what we love about STOL so much. For all of you guys who were at the Swamp STOL series, that was just an absolute blast for me, and I'm now addicted. I have to join you guys as often as possible. First up, we have Christian Greewan. I got to sit down with Christian and figure out his name. He's flying a Just Aircraft Super STOL from Fairplay, South Carolina. John Humbert in that Super 701. That airplane is actually set up exactly as it was when he flew it here from Tennessee. He says it even has the exact same fuel in it, so it's exactly how we would use it to fly cross countries. He's going to be demonstrating his STOL capability. Up next, crowd favorite Steve Henry in the Wild West Highlander. 300 horsepower pushing out of that Yamaha Apex motor. And Steve actually spent the last 2 weeks at my home airport, and watching him practice, watching him tune, watching him dial his thing, and just truly shows you what kind of a competitor he is and what you can expect from his level of performance. Make sure you have your earplugs ready. That thing is going to be howling, and I'm excited to hear it fly. Nick Pouscher in the Patriot PA-18. Nick is a local favorite of ours here from the Sun and Fun Aero Club, which is a venture from the high school, which they actually have an aviation high school here at Sun and Fun, and it's a huge part of Sun and Fun's mission with the ACE program to be able to help young people get into aviation and find this addiction and enjoy it as much as possible. Next up, Gary Schmidt in the Just Aircraft Super STOL, hailing from Walhalla, South Carolina, at what I've been told is one of the most fun STOL strips to fly in and out of possible. Finally, I've got Cameron, no last name, it's a secret, in the 2021 Patriot Super. The man in the box says it's Cameron Simmons. And then I have Larry Mednick. Now this is going to be interesting to share with you guys as we start going through these. We have Larry Mednick flying his Evolution Evo Revolt. Now the Evo Revolt is not a craft you normally expect to see in a STOL competition because it is a Delta Wing weight shift trike. Now I've known Larry for many, many years. I'm really excited to see his performance because if anyone could get the most performance possible out of that airplane, it is either him or his wife, one of the two. They've got incredible skills and they're going to be having an absolute blast kind of showcasing what a Delta Wing versus a standard fixed wing can do. Next, Jeremy Knoll in the 2020 Rainbow. Now, I have no idea what a 2020 Rainbow is, but I promise I will learn as much about it as I can before our demonstration tomorrow. I'm looking forward to seeing his production. And then the man of the hour, for me, it has to be Colin Kasibinski. Colin got up at 1 o'clock this morning, and hopped in his airplane in Fort Valley, Virginia, and flew all the way down here, braving some pretty ridiculous weather. And not only that, he had his girlfriend with him. His girlfriend's a private pilot, and so she took the stick for some time, and he was actually able to register as a pilot here at Sun and Fun from the air, and it didn't hesitate to text me a few times also, giving us updates on what to expect and when he was getting here, arriving just before the air show. Luke Spohr in the 2019 Legend MOAC. Legend is one of our sponsors here at the Husky STOL series, and we're very grateful to have them as a part of it. Obviously, this is a exhibition. This is something that we get to demonstrate what we do at our primary events. These events will be scored exactly like we would at a proper demo and competition, but it is just for demo purposes for the safety of the crowd. We are expecting quite a crowd over this next week, and if you're in the area, don't let the high wind scare you. We're looking forward to having you here with us because I think that we're going to see some absolutely exceptional performances, especially on these days where right now we're looking at about 15 knots of wind, and that number is expected to increase as the night goes on. So we may very well have just the right situation for world records to be broken, and that's the kind of thing that really gets us excited. Even though it's just a demo and we have to use as much caution as possible to keep people safe, there is still the chance that we might see one of these world records broken today. So as we're jumping back in, we only have a few minutes more of commercials for you before we take things up to the next level, and we'll be right back with you.
When it's time to recover and paint your fabric-covered aircraft, look no further than AirTech Coatings. Since 1982, our FAA-approved system provides you with a shiny, durable, easy-to-apply product. The AirTech system has fewer steps than any other product on the market today, saving you both time and money. While using cutting-edge technology, we offer a wide range of products. Whether it's for work, play, antique, or aerobatic, we have you covered. Remember, we make paint fly.
And ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the the Sun and Fun demo for the Husky National STOL. Super excited to have you here. And I want to take just a moment, if we can, to offer, there's always times when people go west in this world, and it's very sad for us to lose friends. And one of those friends, just after Swamp STOL, has passed away, and that's our pilot, Eddie Stash. Eddie flew with us just 2 weeks ago at Swamp STOL, so it is with honor that we would like to just extend a moment of silence for Eddie and thank him and his family for all he did for this sport.
Eddie, you will truly be missed. Your family is deep in our hearts right now as we know that pain of loss. But we are here to fly in a celebration of your life and the opportunity to
share what you loved and what we love so much. So, as so many of you are watching from all over the world, I want to say hello to Sarah Henry, who's on her way here to see her dad. She's at 32,000 feet right now, and I know she is going to be just cheering him on. I hope that the airplane can handle it. But the crowds are gathering, and we're just a few minutes away from our very first competitors taking to the sky. Sorry, not competitors, demo pilots taking to the sky. Looking forward to watching that here. But once again, no commercials the entire time for you guys this next hour. We want to make sure that we get the action and only the action. Please enjoy it. A few words from our sponsors. Many thanks to them, and we'll be right back.
Yeah, I got that right turn. We're good.
Meet up at the compound group up.
At 10-4. Yeah, for sure, dog. Good, little driver, straight on through.
And ladies and gentlemen, we are back and live once again, just moments away from kicking off our Sun and Fun demo series. Truly excited to see this lineup of incredible aviators of all sorts. We've got nose draggers, tail draggers, and even a Delta Wing trike. My name is Eric Farewell, and I'm extremely excited to share with you guys today just the love of aviation that's surrounding us right now. Obviously, we're at a place called Sun and Fun. It's a giant fly-in. If you aren't here, we wish you were. But not just airplanes, all kinds of things are flying here this weekend, and I'm truly excited to see what these competitors could do in conditions that are prime and ready for world record level flight. These guys are starting their motors and getting things going. We've got Levi Nogas and Sarah Henry watching from 32,000 feet and one from 7,000 miles away. Guys, great to have you all here. We're looking forward to sharing both the live stream event as well as all the people live in person. Obviously, The joy that comes out of these events is in the people. We always say you come for the airplanes, you stay for the people, you come back again for those people. And the people that are around us right now, my friend Rockwell over here working the line, we've got wonderful people on this field ready to support some of the best STOL competitors in the U.S. today. And I have to say, I got to do this at Swamp STOL a couple of weeks ago, and I fell in love. I fell in love with the competition, but I mainly fell in love with the competitors. Some of these guys are absolutely wild in their level of competitive spirit. Steve Henry just spent the last 2 weeks at my house and at my home airport tuning, testing, prepping, and making sure he's ready to take down every competitor. But I know he's watching John Humbert, who took it away from him, at least his numbers, in December. John absolutely just thrashing that Super 701. We saw incredible numbers. I'll have to pull them up to find out exactly what the takeoff and landing combined distance was in December, but I think it was in the range of 35 or 40 feet. And we've got some other competitors here who are really working hard to make a name for themselves, and they're doing it successfully. Colin Kasibinski. Colin took third place in his category at Swamp STOL. And then he got up at 1 o'clock in the morning this morning with his girlfriend to come all the way here from Virginia, flying all night long. You know, Colin's only 19 years old, and he's flying his absolute heart out. So really excited to see his performance, along with Luke Spohr, Jeremy Knoll, Larry Mednick in his Revolt. It's the Revolt. It's a light sport hang glider trike. And I've known Larry for a long time. He's actually designed 5 different aircraft, and he is the owner of the company that builds these incredible hang glider trikes. Not something we normally see in a STOL competition, but I've seen how short he can take it off, and I think the only person who's better at it is his wife. So Amy, if you're listening, I promise I've got your back on this. We've got some great folks, guys. We've got some great opportunities, and I believe that we're supposed to be starting up those engines any moment, pulling up to the line, and we're going to have 1 solid hour of absolute fun. I think we're going to have a lot of people excited to see just exactly what kind of performance we can get with this nice 12 to 15 knot headwind, slightly crossed. There's going to be some challenge with the rotor coming around, the rotor mechanical turbulence coming around those trees, but I expect that these guys have the chops to be here. They're very excited to showcase those skills, and they want to showcase a lot of the stuff that is brought to them by our sponsors. We have people like McFarland. It's the world's largest MT propeller distributor. MT Propellers, again, one of our sponsors. Rugged Radios, Legend Cubs, Ladd Gardner Aviation Insurance, Duke Propellers, one of our new sponsors. Duke actually made the propeller that's on my Kit Fox. It is a beautiful carbon hubbed propeller. Sarasota Avionics, Fat Tire Cowboys, Sporty's Pilot Shop. Guys, truly excited to share all of this stuff with you. I know the crowd's getting excited. There's quite a few of them out here, and I think that we're going to see even more as we start getting these guys ramped up to fly. We want to make sure that you guys know that team spirit's a big deal, all right? Live events are back. This is Florida. It's no longer 2020. Live events are here to stay, and team spirit makes a big difference. I know when Warren Grubbelar gets here, he's going to have about 60 of his closest friends or paid associates, we're not quite sure if he pays them or not, that have signs, and they cheer and they chant. And I know for a fact that Sarah will be leading everyone in cheering on Steve Henry. Steve pulling up now in that beautiful Highlander with the 300 horsepower, listen to the turbo spool, 300 horsepower Yamaha Apex motor. Steve has a way about him of being extraordinarily calm. But then you start having conversations. You start hearing stories about Steve's childhood and all of his siblings and the races they would have. And he never said they were to the death, but it's about as close as you could probably get. And that same level of competitive spirit still comes out in him today. Obviously, he has won these events more times than I can count. And that I can count pretty high, even though I was homeschooled. So we're going to come back over here and just walk through all of our competitors once again. Christian Greewan, he is in that 2021. That's actually wrong. He's not in a 21. Oh, yeah. 2021 Just Super STOL. It's the new one. He's got a beautiful Just Super STOL from Fairplay, South Carolina. It's the orange and silver. Next up, John Humbert in the Super 701. Steve Henry in his Wild West Highlander. Nick Pouscher in his PA-18. Gary Schmidt in his Just Super STOL. Cameron Simmons in the Super Patriot. Guys, do you hear the blow-off valve? Steve, we get it. You've got a cool airplane. That is just incredible. It's at Swamp STOL. We actually watched Steve take off, and if you were watching closely, you'll see the stripes on his tires. And those stripes on his right tire never moved. He locked his brakes, went full power, and was airborne before he could even release the brakes. Next up, we have Jeremy Knoll in the Rainbow Skyreach, Colin Kasibinski in that 1983 PA-18 Super Cub, and Luke Spohr in the Legend Moac. Guys, we've got quite the lineup for you tonight. Steve is on the line. They'll be releasing them in just a moment. Keep your eyes on that line on the tire. Steve says the airplane's running exactly as it should be. Tails off the ground. And he's in the air. Oh my goodness, it's too tight for me to see from this angle, but we'll get a judge on that in just a moment to give us an exact reading. It looks like they're standing around the 25 to 30 foot mark. Pretty solid performance as expected from Steve Henry. Yellow and black, Gary Schmidt in his Just Aircraft Super STOL. This is a 2017. See if he's taking the same line. Waiting to rotate, getting the flaps in late, dragging his tail and into that incredible climb performance expected from the Super STOL. You know, these guys build these airplanes. They know exactly where the line is, exactly where they can absolutely get the rotation down. And if they do it too early, they end up dragging the mains. If they do it too late, they end up staying on the ground for the necessary 25 feet that just hurts your soul to watch. Christian Greewan on the roll, keeping the tail down this time a little bit longer than his competitors. Flaps are in earlier as well. All of these guys are going to be feeling out this air. They're trying to get an understanding for exactly what to expect as they're, you know, it changes every time you're here. This runway in particular, there's something about the trees on that southern border that just creates something different. Nick Pouscher in the Patriot PA-18R. This airplane, I believe, was announced today. The first I've heard of it was just today, and I've been told it was just announced. They have apparently a wonderful pre-buy program, not pre-buy, but a build assist program. All right, hang on one second. I'm going to get a friend in here with me. He's standing next to me. He's wearing a Patriot shirt. This should be good. All right, walk us through this airplane. What makes it better?
I tell you, we've really taken all the cumulative years that we've worked on Super Cubs and Cubs and Huskies and PA-12, just everything we've worked on, and we've put all our knowledge into this airplane. There's so many refinements, so many little bitty things that make it pilot friendly, but one of the most important things is we've got the Acme shock systems. You know, they're one of the sponsors here for sure. The Acme landing gear, the new titanium landing gear.
They have titanium now.
Titanium, cool. Brother, you know what I'm saying? So anyway, we've got the AirTech covering systems, you know, but the wing loading, that's our number one goal.
All right, we'll be right back to that. We've got Steve Henry on short final, bringing it in high, not Steve's normal move here. Steve is often dragging it in across the deck, and it looks like it's a scratch. Oh, I know Steve's going to be disappointed with that, but it's a different play for him. I think he's trying to avoid a lot of those mechanical turbulence we see over those trees.
I'm going to tell you, that's a big thing right now. The way the wind's coming over those trees, it's really going to be messing with these pilots big time.
100%, 100%. Tell us more about Patriot. Where can we find out more information?
Go to patriotaircraftusa.com.
patriotaircraftusa.com. Beautiful airplane. I will be coming by the booth to talk to you.
Awesome.
I'm in the market. You got to love cool airplanes.
Oh, thank you very much.
All right, guys. Next up, on approach, again taking that higher line, Gary Schmidt in the Super STOL. You'll notice there he got a lot of lift right at the end as he was trying to rotate out. He's carrying that into the ground effect, and that's going to give him a score he's really disappointed in, but it's still good, and that's a very important thing to talk about. These scores are accumulative of your best takeoff and best landing, but they have to be on the same flight. So this is the challenge. You have to get at least one score in to be able to register at all. And sometimes we've seen these pilots only have one or two with a score in the entire category because they're trying so hard to be the best. You need to have that safety. So right now, he may be frustrated. He may not love the result he got, but he is in the scoring. So that's very good news for us. Gary Schmidt with a 500 on the landing and a 147 on takeoff. Now, much lower approach. Christian bringing it in. He's on the ground a lot faster than his partner. Can he get on the brakes hard enough? This wind is now a true quartering crosswind. And while it may look steady on those flags in the live stream, those of us here in person can attest to the fact that this is not anything like a steady control. It is back and forth, big, strong winds, and then nothing over and over. Do have the numbers back from Steve Henry's first takeoff. Obviously this will not count because he did scratch on the landing, but at 33-foot takeoff puts him well and above. Here comes the Patriot with Nick. Interesting little burst of power from Nick, even past the line. I think he's working against that crosswind, making sure he has enough control over the rudder. Something every pilot's trying to consider, making sure you don't end up in any sort of a ground loop in front of all your friends and family. Not something you want to do. Taking the line now, we've got John Humbert, Colin Kassabinski. Our announcer's booth here is challenging, but one thing you might hear in just a moment is John Humbert's horn. For an airplane that is completely built around being as light as possible, he has a car horn installed just in case you weren't already paying attention to that Super 701. You can find him at Super 701 on Instagram and YouTube. John Humbert coming all the way down from Tennessee, and he said to me right before we went out to the airplane, he said, you know, Eric, I still have the same fuel in it that I took off and flew down here. He said, it's exactly the way that I would fly it home and exactly the way I flew it here. Obviously the first tricycle gear airplane we've seen out here on the field. He's checking his elevator, making sure he's got full pitch control. We'll see him drag his tail, will we today? Getting ready to release these aircraft. Looks like I may have had some names mixed up here. It's Cameron Simmons in the Super Patriot, not Nick. Nick is in the yellow and black Patriot that we see in front of us now. The joys of reading off of a spreadsheet in the bright sunlight. And all these airplanes have such cool names. Getting ready to release now. We should have a word from the box here in just a moment about how much time we have to wait. Super Patriot. Gary Schmidt in his Super STOL as well. Cameron Simmons in that camo Super Patriot. John Humbert on the roll. Tail just missing the ground into that deck angle he's known for. When I questioned John on this, I asked him, I said, you know, it seems to me that you're right at the edge of a stall. How hard would it be to lose a wing? And he said, Eric, I could pull it 10 degrees, 20 degrees further and have no issue. He said that it just mushes right there using that almost lifting body style design. 19-year-old Colin Kasibinski in his 1983 Piper, airplane older than he is. By a long shot, by about double. Dragging the tail. A respectable takeoff in that Super Cub. He's getting that nose down, keeping her flying. Almost got the mains, but he kept him off, and that's how the rules work here, guys. If the mains touch anywhere else on the runway, even after you've lifted off, you built some speed, let's say you just let that left main just touch down, just brushing the tops of the grass, that is where your takeoff score is made. So you want to make sure you get it flying and keep it flying as quickly as possible. Nick Pouscher. Ooh, getting it off with that small tire Patriot Cub. Absolutely beautiful airplane built right here at the Lakeland Aero Club.
No flaps.
No flaps at all. That's true. As you guys can see, we're keeping a really tight pattern here today. The goal is to have 3 aircraft operating at the same time without any delay. So you'll notice as they come in for their next round of landings, these guys will be right on top of each other as best as possible. And we have the other competitors lined up ready to go. And I tell you what, I know they're raring to. It's interesting to watch the different personalities. Some airplanes shut down, others just waiting it out. John Humbert turning base to final here. Just one moment. That Super 701. It's powered by a car engine. Now, I'm going to have to ask him for more information about it, but I did ask him how much fuel he burns. And he said in competitions like this, he plans for 5 gallons an hour. But when he's putting around his pattern, he plans for 3. So an airplane that can take off and land in basically no distance at all, as we've seen here at this competition or at this demonstration, it's a pretty impressive system. And I know that he could sit here and talk for hours about why he thinks it's a superior system to what many other pilots are using. Obviously, we see the Yamaha Apex on Steve Henry's airplane, and we're seeing a different approach. This is the approach I'd expect from John Humbert. This is classic John. Low, keeping the power in, trying to get as high of an angle of attack as possible, keeping his angle of incidence balanced, working against the crosswind. And he's across the line. Deep on those brakes, you'll see his tires shuddering. Very, very good score for John. John Humbert's first takeoff was 72 feet, so we see a score of 72 and 94. So not a terrible showing for John, especially given the fact that the Steve Henry got off the ground in 33 feet. He has yet to land past the line. Colin, right on. He's good. Heavy under braking, keeping the tail down. Getting her stopped. Now you'll notice that all of these pilots are stopping completely, and that's something important. They're all working toward a very simple goal. They're working toward what we call the most consistent goal. The most consistent pilot, last time I was here, was in December. I believe it was Austin Clemens, and I believe it was a difference of 6 feet between all of his takeoffs and landings. 6 feet combined. So these are the kind of scores that we start looking for as we start talking to these pilots. And it may have been Nick. I don't recall who it was, but the difference of 6 feet between 3 takeoffs and 3 landings, that is true consistency and what all pilots should strive for. Here comes Nick. Power is out. Ooh, he is almost touching down, but he kept it aloft and across the line. I think that Nick is going to be extremely happy with that result. Initial takeoff of 129, and we're getting the data right now from our field recorders of what that takeoff was. Steve Henry now taxiing out to the line. He's getting ready for some redemption, I think. I have a feeling he will not let John sit in that top spot for long. It's going to have to go back and forth at least once. Listen to that turbo roar. You know, it's classified information exactly what turbo or how much boost Steve runs, but I did ask him if it was over 25, and he said not anymore. 25 pounds of boost, tearing that airplane apart. Just absolutely incredible amount of power in this craft. He said that the biggest challenge at this point is not the engine, it's not the power, it's not the piloting, it's the brakes. He cannot keep the airplane from moving past the line with the brakes he has. There's just not enough contact point for the brake or the tire. Now, something we like to talk about here at National STOL and Husky National STOL is the fact that this is something that every pilot has the opportunity to do. Obviously, we'd like you to come and let us know that you have an interest. It's very important to realize how much of a difference this can make in your piloted skills. Learning to fly and trying to shoot for such accuracy will dramatically reflect in your everyday flying. Steve Henry on the roll, off the ground. That may have been shorter than the previous. I see judges just after the 25-foot mark.
Steve Henry on the roll, off
The ground, that may have been shorter than the Gary Schmidt and that Just Aircraft Super STOL. Tail up. Will he pull for an earlier rotation this time? It looks like he is. Getting her off the ground in a very respectable distance. Tail up. And ladies and gentlemen, as Christian takes the line this time, it looks like he is. Please encourage all of you not to smoke in the spectator area. We know it's outdoors, but it doesn't smell great, and there are rules against it here. Christian now adding power. Please refrain from smoking. Thank you. Once again, keeping the tail on the ground initially, diving it forward, and then pulling it off the ground. It looks like it might have been a bit shorter than his compatriot, Gary Schmidt. Finally, we have Cameron Simmons in that brand new Patriot, Super Patriot. A gorgeous camo paint job. Forcing the nose down early. and off quickly. It looks like he came, you can look at the amount of climb he was able to create and then maintain. That tells us that he have a little more energy in the airplane than he needed to while it was still on the ground. If he wanted to pull, just that 2.5 second earlier, whatever it may have been, those are the difference between a 75-foot takeoff and a 105-foot takeoff. This is what they're constantly pushing them toward, and why it's so important to be consistent. Steve Henry now. This is the Steve we know and love. This is Steve down low, battling it out, accepting that he's going to have to deal with all this wind, but knowing that he has the power to keep himself across that line this time. Look at that, almost full deflection on his rudder. He's forcing it. He's going for it. He wanted to get that airplane on the ground and stopped. He needs that score. I think it's going to be a good one for Steve Henry. 29-foot takeoff on Steve's run today and a 67-foot landing. Absolutely phenomenal. You have John Humbert at 72 and 94. Still very reasonable, and there's still a fight here to be had, guys. It's not necessarily Steve's. All John needs is the right air and the right timing, and he will be very, very close. Gary Schmidt locking him up. Now you notice how that airplane started turning a bit to the left. He's holding a little more left brake, or the right one slipped. It's important that we keep the airplane aimed down the runway. There are judging pieces involved if you were to have a ground loop or if you were to spin the airplane sideways. They want to keep it under control at all times. We do want to talk a bit more for those of you guys who are not here experiencing it with us. Look at this wind, guys. The wind is picking up and it is shifting a bit more southerly. We're going to see more and more mechanical turbulence, which we're actually, if you're watching Christian right now, we just watched him drop that left wing aggressively, just about a full range of that right aileron applied, and now dragging it in, trying to keep it straight as that wind's picking up. That wind could be exactly what John Humbert needs to unseat Steve. All right, as our pilots start making their way back down the field, we've got one more on final approach. I tell you, they put this announcer in a place where I can't see. Super Patriot, piloted by Cameron Simmons. Very completely controlled approach here. Off the power early. And blips it one more time. I think that's going to cost him in his distance, but I think he felt the sink there that we're getting. If we put this line anywhere else in the field, it would be more in the rotor. So we're really in that position where the FAA is happy, we're as happy as we can be, but it definitely makes it challenging because the tree line ends right where the line begins. John Humbert taking back to the field. We'll have some taxiing here. I want to thank Fat Tire Cowboys, Sarasota Avionics, Legend Aircraft and Aviat Aircraft, Husky National STOL. Super grateful to have everyone involved here with us. We've had wonderful help from Rugged Radios, Sporty's Pilot Shop, and Duke Propellers, as well as McFarland Aviation and MT Propellers, AirTech Coatings, and Ladd Gardner Insurance. As the night grows darker, you may see something change on Steve Henry's aircraft, and that's the color of the exhaust pipes and the turbo. It will become bright red. You can see just the elbow there. That's not the one you're looking for. You're looking for the pipe behind the intercooler and the radiator. It will turn about the same color under heat. John Humbert currently with a combined total of 166 feet, looking to unthrone Steve's best at 96 feet. Will he toot his horn or just go for the gold? John's got such a great spirit about him. He lives on a farm in Tennessee, loves to fly every day he can, and is one of the hardest working men I've ever known. There's the horn. That could be the word from John that he's ready to go. He's under power. Watch that tail. It's on the ground. Once again, the angle of attack. And it's something that's important to keep in mind is the angle of attack there looks crazy, right? But something that a lot of these pilots do is they change their angle of incidence. That's the angle that the wing meets the air. So it's not just the angle of attack. If you have the airplane's angle of incidence where the wing is mated to the fuselage is at a negative point to allow for more rotation, that actually is not that crazy of a climb, right? It sure feels like a crazy climb. It looks like a crazy climb, but he's still well within his area of safety to keep that airplane in exactly the condition it is right now. Colin, 19 years old, in the 83 Super Cub. Getting his tail down very early. This is not a normal move from Colin. There we see it. I got the opportunity to fly with Colin at Swamp Stoll, and I have to say, he treats that airplane like it's a dirt bike, and every field's his playground. Absolute blast to fly with him. Hometown favorite here in the Patriot, made right here by high school students at an aviation high school. Where else can you do that? Thank you all for supporting all that Son of Fun is doing here. Got those lightweight tires, keeping it off the ground as quickly as possible. Again, not as much aggression as we've seen in the past from Nick, but he's staying consistent. See if he can get that landing score down. His takeoff last time was 129, 113 this time. We're seeing direct results of exactly what we'd expect to happen in this higher wind scenario. His last landing was 500, so a combined score of 629. I know he does not want to leave that as the only thing on the board. You'll have a very grumpy Nick. Many thanks to Shu Cruisin and Levi Nogas. These guys are in the live stream right now. If you're in the live stream, feel free to say hello. We'd love to say hello to you. It's a neat thing for us to be able to share these lovely live events with people from all over the world. John Humbert, base to final here in just a moment. Keep an eye on his main gear when he lands. You'll watch him not allow a moment of roll. He is working those brakes for every bit they're worth. You can watch the tire, that low PSI. They're usually running between 4 and 6 PSI on these Busch tires. You'll see it actually crinkle up, which is a really unique thing to see because it's a very strong but very thin rubber on the sidewall start to roll with the inertia. Different approach from John now, a bit higher. We'll see if he works it down to his standard high alpha type approach. Slipping the airplane now, working his way down. John's used to flying out of a strip like this. His is surrounded on 3 sides by tall trees. This is his wheelhouse, but we did see a big wing drop there. We know they're having to fight for these. And the wind is really dropped. At least where I'm sitting. Hard on the brakes, nose down hard. He likes those brakes. We got a go around from Colin. Again, this is the safe call. When there's a pilot on the runway not having begun their turnout, you're going to see pilots go around just like that to keep plenty of separation. And our air boss is calling those decisions for them so they don't have to make the thought. They can choose to ahead of time, but they are waiting for the air boss generally to say, hey, get out of here. Next up is Nick. Nick's takeoff 113 feet. Low approach. Keeping it stabilized. Listen to that engine. Pulling power early. Getting heavy on those brakes now. Much better approach and landing this time from Nick, but it looks like he's struggling a bit to get her stopped. Second landing once again at 500. He has shortened his overall score from 629 to 613, but I think 16 feet is not what he's looking for. I think we're going to see a bit more of a performance push for him next, because now that he does have scores on the board. Nice slip in here from Colin, keeping that left wing low. He knows that's where the wind's coming from. Has his flaps in early. Maintaining, getting that just little gooses of power. and across the line. We should have that score back in from Colin. Colin, current score, takeoff of 116 feet, a landing of 192. His takeoff this time improved by 6 feet, and his landing improved by 6 feet for a total combined of 12 feet improvement. We got Steve Henry warming up that motor, making sure everything's cleaned out of there. I've got Steve's mechanic sitting over my shoulder here. I could ask him for more information because this engine is constantly being retuned, reviewed, and understood better. He sat outside of my hangar with a laptop, juicing off our Wi-Fi to retune this live with his team. Absolutely incredible. Steve Henry's last takeoff was 29 feet. Let's take a look here and see what he can do against that. 29 feet's pretty incredible. Combined takeoff and landing of 96 total feet right now for Steve Henry. Humbert right behind him at 166, about a 70-foot change, or difference, I should say. And Schmidt behind that at 280. Turbos are spooling, nose is down low, and he's off the ground in a laughable distance once again. If you're standing there or in the stands right now and there's not something like some blood pumping in your heart, you should have something checked, because hearing that turbo spool up just brings joy to my life. I love that Steve Henry, like so many of these pilots, his entire family, I see his bride on here, Kathy, cheering on Jason for all of his help getting this airplane running. But next up, we've got the beautiful yellow and black Super STOL. Gary Schmidt getting off nicely. Christian right behind him. Christian currently has an excellent score, 323. Numbers are important. Ooh, pulling it off nicely. We see a nice gradual descent there. He did use all the energy he possibly could there. Did not leave it on the ground. Very nice to see from Christian. Even though this airplane has leather interior and an autopilot, we're still seeing exceptional results from that beautiful brand new Super Patriot flown by Cameron Simmons. The capability that these airplanes have still to this day just blows me away, especially when we start getting into the more interesting classes throughout the next week. We're going to see light touring, heavy touring, guys that you could put a motorcycle in the back, and actually Warren will have his motorcycle in the back of his 185 or 180, and he'll be flying in here, taking off in spaces of less than 100 feet. Absolutely staggering. But now we've got Steve Henry on approach, stabilizing, pulling the power a little early, trying to get to that high alpha angle of attack. He wants to be looking right through that little door next to his knee, making sure he gets on board, and that was very close, but it was good. He did get a little bit of almost 30 degree of angle there. That left brake working a little better than the right. Looking forward to seeing the score on that. That was an excellent landing. 76 feet for that landing, 67 for his previous. So even though he improved his takeoff by 8 feet to 21, it will not take his stop score. Gary Schmidt letting her float a little bit. He came off the power early, but he did have a lot of that altitude. We always have to remember that we want to use that stick for speed, power for altitude. He had a lot of altitude, but then he did get down a lot shorter than he has in previous runs. 159 last time. We'll get it back here at 216 this time, but it's still a marked improvement from his 500-foot score on the first round. Christian Greewan from Fairplay, South Carolina, in the Just Aircraft Super STOL, the orange and silver. Christian, always a contender here. really dragging it, almost getting his tail wheel on the ground. And for those of you new to this action, the tail on the ground before the line is acceptable. Your third wheel may touch. John Humbert does not want that to happen to him. But all these tail dragger pilots, there's a bit of flair, a bit of extra pizzazz to say, if you get your tail on the ground and allow that high alpha approach to kind of drag it across and then just plop the mains down right after that line. That's kind of the end mission. If you can do that, lock up the brakes and stop it in 6 feet, you're going to become a very serious contender. Cameron Simmons now, Super Patriot. Once again, this is an airplane just released today. They build these, and this one is a performer even with everything on board. It's kind of like the Aviat Huskies. If you look at the Aviat Huskies, they are our title sponsor and one of our favorite partners. You go look at that airplane, and it looks like a McLaren inside. And then you go watch these guys like Austin Clemens take off and land in the space of the wingspan of a larger aircraft. Like, I mean, not even a much larger aircraft, like the wingspan of a twin Comanche, right? And he does it consistently over and over again without lacking any of the creature comforts. Heck, he even has beta on his prop. He can back his airplane up, which originally was 4 seaplanes, but Austin thought to himself, hey, this could be good. Let's try it out. Now, for some of you who have never been to a STOL competition before or STOL demonstration, you may not be accustomed to what's happening now. You see these airplanes dancing side to side as they taxi. That's for visibility. Some pilots like Steve just aren't that tall, and they need to see over the nose. Others just can't see because of the angle of attack from that very tall, very forgiving landing gear. Some pilots have actually resorted to putting cameras beneath their propellers so they can see through their prop. But I don't care who you are, I will always say Team Tailwheel is the best team, and I think that many of these pilots here would agree with me. John Humbert, however, is not one of them, and John is next up. He is staking his claim, doing his very best to take on Steve Henry here. John took a bunch of trophies in December, and right now his best score is 166 against Steve's 96. He's under power. Looking for that high angle of attack, and he leapt off the ground that time with a much better score. At least it looked like it from my angle. Best takeoff so far was 63 feet. But the 63-foot takeoff is not what gave him his highest or his best score so far. We'll have that score for you in just a moment. With Colin Kasibinski from Virginia has taken to the runway. Colin building power. Pushing the nose a little more aggressively this time and starting an early pull. Looks like that left wing is up. Oh, he's going to try to take it off. He's got her. Keep her flying, Colin. Nick Pouscher in the Patriot PA-18, getting the tail off the ground before he starts the ground roll. He's proving the brakes do work. I think he was listening to me. He's got the tail on the ground as the mains come off. He maintains a nice level flight, taking as much energy out of that airplane while it was on the ground as possible. And a quick hello to a few people who have joined our chat. You've got Jason Bissat from Edge Performance with the EPEX that's in Steve's plane. He is excited. Terry Stanford says that's some wind. It is some wind, guys. This is part of the excitement, part of the joy, getting to see these airplanes truly perform at the top level. John Humbert left base to final. His takeoff exactly the same as his previous, 63 feet. Once again, there is a prize for most consistent, so having that opportunity to be as consistent as possible is a good thing. We see Steve Henry at 29 feet, then 21, 67-foot landing, and 76. Starting to see these scores come into play. They're trying to maximize their time. Slipping the airplane down. Losing altitude without gaining speed. The slip is a beautiful thing. On that low approach, he's slow. Slow can be very good in this situation unless the wrong gust grabs you. It's got the power pullback. Listen for those small rapid fire inputs. That's John's way. I know he'll be disappointed with the scratch, but he had it right on the line. If he'd been able to carry just a bit further, he'd be a much happier man. Colin now, short final, much higher approach. He's got the flaps in and the power out. Colin says he likes to think of the throttle as an accelerator like it would on a dance floor. Tap, 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 try to keep it aloft, but that will be a scratch. All right, guys, here on the ground, you can feel it. At home, you can't, but you can see it. The flags are starting to die, and the wind is dying with it. Nick on approach now, low and to the left. That wind is not there to help him. Both previous landings ranked at 500 feet. We know he's going to try to slow it down a lot faster than that this time. You know, something I've thought about for quite some time is if you wanted to be most consistent, you could just go longest, right? You could win that award just by going longest. I think Steve Henry might have it in for that one someday. Once again, guys, watch the lines on Steve Henry's tires. See if he releases the brakes or if he doesn't. This is the most fun game I play at these events because oftentimes he never even gets a chance before he's airborne. John Humbert coming by the crowd now. He can see you. Wave to him, guys. You can actually wave and say, "Hi, John. Good to see you, brother." All right, our totals right now stand at 96 feet for Steve Henry, and he is back on the roll again. Like a rocket ship. I just got word from our show director in the booth, which is actually a U-Haul truck because we're smart like that. He says that we're going to keep this going. You guys at Son of Fun want to see more STOL? Yeah? I got one guy honked a horn. All right. We're going to keep this going afterwards, guys. But this is not stopping now. We're going to have the time all the way up until, I believe, 6 p.m. Sorry, 7 p.m. Gary coming off the ground nicely. Look at the climb rate and the angle of attack. Once again, just dominant from that ever since that Super STOL was first released. I will never forget watching them here at Sun and Fun for the very first time, just blown away by the performance we were seeing. Christian Greewan, another Super STOL. Once again, we see that really rapid rate of ascent, a sign that he could have potentially pulled a little bit earlier, ridden that ragged edge just a bit longer, but still an admirable performance for that Super STOL flown by Christian. Super Patriot making some noise. Cameron Simmons. Oh, Admirable. All right, ladies and gentlemen, if you're watching at home, keep your eyes on the bottom left of the screen. You may see a duplicate number pop up, and that's because we're not just ranking their first three, but also their second. We want to make sure that we get all the rankings in place, and they all count. Steve now, hard on the power, getting that nose up, slowing the airplane down. Look at all the flaps. Pulling power back, waiting. Is it good? It's a scratch. Oh, it's disappointing for Steve. Got Christian base to final.
How's it going?
Steve Henry, 70 feet. Unbelievable performance from Steve today. That airplane running absolutely perfectly. We may see some late night tinkering by John Humbert out here trying to get his to run just a little bit better. James Collins typing in from Facebook says, "Do not stop filming. I will find you." We promise to keep the videos coming. We're super excited to keep sharing these with you, both here in person and to all of you out there. Tony Zorn from the Swamp Monster. Let's give it a bad case of FOMO. We wish you were here, Tony. Christian hanging it on the prop. Off the power early, making sure he gets it across the line, but has plenty of ability to get it stopped as quickly as possible.
7:30.
We're going till 7:30.
7:30, subject to change, but right now 7:30.
All right, the latest news from our air boss is that we are going to be able to go all the way to 7:30. So 45 more minutes of STOL. We're going to double it up for you today. For all of you watching at home, don't worry. We will keep the cameras rolling. Super Patriot. Cameron Simmons. What an absolute picturesque airplane being announced right here at Sun and Fun 2022. I did have to check just now to make sure it was actually 2022 and not 2023 because it feels like the years are just happening too quickly at this point. John Humbert on the wheelie machine itself. We asked him if he ever heard of a motorcycle. He said no. I don't think they have those on his farm. Steve giving a wave to the crowd. Smile on his face despite the scratch. Look at that smile. The man's a happy man flying an airplane that he knows and loves. And I hear tell that there are things happening in Idaho even as we speak. Magic of some kind in the next yeehaw. Just heard from Ryan Dabrowski. Ryan will be joining me on the mic here in just a few days. One of the normal announcers here at the Husky National STOL. John Humbert now getting off just famously as he always does. It's very interesting to watch how quickly he pushes the nose over. He has had to talk it to a few times. Like, guys, you can't scare people. It looks like you're climbing too fast. That's all right though. He has had it in hand and keeps it flying nice and safely, exactly as you'd expect from a pilot like John. Collins idling, gentle 0320, making the beautiful sound over a Behringer set of shocks If you have ever seen Behringer, you probably recognize them from brakes and wheels. This is the only Super Cub I know of with Behringer shocks, and Colin says they're pretty darn good. You notice there is some time here in between people taking off. That's for safety separation. They want to make sure that they're able to maintain as much separation as is necessary so they don't have to go around, because time is lost every time we have a go around, and these guys want to get as many times around the pattern as they possibly can. Big tail up in the air this time. And going for a bit of an early pull. I'll be talking to Colin after this, giving him a little harassment, but he did have the wind on his side. He was able to get an excellent score. We see on the scoreboard now Christian Greewan is actually beating himself his second round with a 3:07 versus the 3:23 of the time before. Nick now in the Patriot PA-18, getting airborne and maintaining it very nicely. John Humbert's last takeoff 60 feet. Steve Henry at 33 feet. But did not qualify on the landing. John Humbert once again taking a little bit higher approach at the beginning. Making sure he's safe, making sure he has plenty of outs the whole time.
Good job.
On low approach from your left, John Humbert. The Tennessee farmer turned STOL champion. Working the crosswind just like he would at home. And really getting into that high angle of attack now. He wants it. Oh, it's a scratch. Disappointing for John. Right behind him, we have Colin Kasibinski from Virginia, making the flight from 1 o'clock in the morning all the way till 12 this afternoon. Hopping right back in the airplane and going at it again. There's that blipping we told you to expect, and it is a scratch. Disappointing for Colin. Great landing, man.
So I was all, somebody called him radio. So I was right on.
Nick dragging her in. Off the power a bit early. It's going to be a scratch. Crowd favorite, and with his whole family watching even from 32,000 feet as his daughter makes her way here to Lakeland, Florida for Sun and Fun 2022. Steve Henry's got the tail in the air. He's blasting some air through his prop. Just such a cool airplane to listen to. You know, if I'm Christian Greewan, I wonder, you know, Steve's just blowing me around back here. This airplane, one of the only airplanes purpose-built for both National STOL and STOL Drag events. Steve's Highlander is the Yeehaw number 44. As we reset, we want to once again thank our sponsors, Sarasota Avionics, Husky Aircraft, Legend Cub Aircraft, McFarlane and MT Propeller, Rugged Radios, and Steve Henry taking off once again with aggression. I'll get that score to you guys in just a moment here. Looking forward to seeing exactly what our takeoff was. Looks like 30 feet for Steve, and Christian is about to be on the roll. Christian's previous takeoff was 171 feet. He's got the wind with him this time. Cameron Simmons in that 2022 Patriot, the Super Patriot. Very impressive airplane just announced today. Colin working his way up. Very little energy left in that airplane after it left the ground. It's exactly what you want to see. That's someone's working it off the ground as quickly as it possibly can fly. Colin's last takeoff was 106 feet. Nick now. Again, using that wind to his benefit. Colin's takeoff 141, 35 feet longer than his previous. I know he'll be disappointed, but that's part of the game here. We're looking to benefit not just the takeoffs, but dial those landings. His current scoring does not count because he scratched the landing. Steve Henry now low to the left. Engine singing. Hard on the landing there, but deep into the brakes. One of the challenges Steve has, and any pilot with a turbo-powered aircraft has in these competitions, is the turbo lag itself. As it takes time to build that power, he has to be ready to chop it because it will continue to build to peak. That's why when you hear that chop, you'll hear the blow-off valves just whistling down. As the night goes on, this air is getting smoother and these pilots are starting to get a little more in tune. Christian with a scratch. Steve Henry with a combined score of 100 that last round. 30-foot takeoff, 70-foot landing. Cameron Simmons in the Super Patriot. It's good. '19-year-old Colin Kassabinski in the beautiful maroon-tipped Super Cub. Looking for a little redemption this time. Goosing that throttle, keeping it up. That looked excellent. Colin took third at Swamp Stoll, and he was close. Very consistent flying, very consistent person. Really neat to watch. We're getting ready for our third round, ladies and gentlemen. We have Steve Henry coming up, as well as all of their favorite pilots here. Thanks for watching with us. Thanks for being a part of this show. If you're here live, Nick, touching down. with a scratch. Shout out to Chris Liu, who I'm sure I'm mispronouncing their name, who's watching from halfway around the world, and to James Collins and Roger Hawkins Jr. Great to have everybody here from all over the world joining us for our Sun and Fun demo. Night 1 of Sun and Fun 2022. This week looks to have some very interesting conditions. Tomorrow evening, strong winds. Saturday evening, twice as strong. Again, world record possibilities are very real here. And something to keep in mind is these pilots are lining up for their 3rd round. Every single one of them is lighter than they were before. As they've been burning off that fuel, they will have more performance, less weight to stop, less weight to carry. We may see some truly extraordinary performances from each of these guys. And one thing we had at Swamp Stoll that we're missing here was a female competitor. We love seeing more and more of these lady pilots as the lady pilots population grows. Join us here at National STOL. Steve Henry ripping the airplane off the ground as if pulled by God's hand himself. Cameron Simmons, Super Patriot. Colin Kasibinski waiting for his turn, bringing the power in. Let's see if he lowers his tail as quickly as he has been. He is getting that tail down right away. We had an interesting conversation over the campfire later as to why he's doing this 2-stage pull. We didn't see it at Swamp Stoll. We are seeing it here. Definitely a different trend for Colin. It could be something he does for crosswinds. It could be something that he just thought he'd try out tonight just to throw everyone off their game and tomorrow come back with his standard stance and just take everybody apart. You never know. Colin's a competitor through and through. Our homegrown Nick bringing the tail off the ground, locking those brakes. Flying the tail this time. And just flying it off the ground. Colin, 106-foot takeoff. Nick with 117 the first time, 137 the next, and 144 for this last. We're seeing a bit of a longer trend, but we are watching this wind start to die. Got our good friends Flipper and Duck from operations here. Steve Henry, heavy on that power, listening for the turbo. Doesn't want to scratch, willing to take the hit. And he's stopped. Cameron Simmons, that beautiful Patriot aircraft. Neat to see more contenders in the bush space. It's good, but it's a little long and a little fast. Not the numbers he's going to be wanting to see. Previous landings of 239 and 244. Again, we're seeing that gradual trend upwards. His previous takeoffs were 97 and 113, followed by 119. You can tell the wind is dying out. That's what's such an interesting challenge for these pilots, is that you may end up at a perfect cycle, you may not. Colin, goose in the throttle. Don't let her touch. Oh, it's a scratch. Right at the edge there. It's such a delicate balance for these pilots because they want to be done and stopped as quickly as possible, but that need to get across the line is crucial. We've seen some good numbers out of all these pilots today, with Colin's best being 271 feet combined, Steve Henry's best being 86 feet, bettering his previous by 10 feet. John Humbert at 166. Gary Schmidt sliding in at 280 in between the two Colin runs. Nick in the Patriot PA-18. So his tires touched past the line, or before the line, so it was a scratch, but you notice the bounce. If his tires had touched after the line and there was a bounce, it would still be counted from wherever he stopped. Now you may notice, ladies and gentlemen, that we have lost a few of our pilots. I'll let you guess as to why. When John Humbert was in the booth here a few minutes before they took to their planes, John said, well, I may have to stop early because I still have the gas from Tennessee. And there's not very much of it. These pilots are required, just like everyone else, to carry at least a 30-minute reserve of fuel on board. So once they get to that 30-minute point, they know the FAA, their friends of the FAA who are walking in front of me right now, are watching, and they want to not only be the safest pilots they can be, but they want to follow the letter of the law. So we may have a few of these pilots retire and then come back later, but Steve Henry, absolutely mental. As expected. 21-foot takeoff from Steve Henry. These are the kind of consistent numbers that we see in his practices. These are the kind of numbers that we see from performances here, and it's just a joy to watch. Cameron, Super Patriot. I believe that was Steve's best takeoff of the day at 21 feet. Cameron with a phenomenal 86-foot takeoff, his previous best being 97 feet. 86 feet will make Cameron very happy. That's putting him in John Humbert territory. I cannot wait to harass Colin about that takeoff. I've never seen him do it like this before. I'm so confused. Colin with a 173-foot takeoff. Nick in the Cub built by high school students. Keeping the tail alive and flying her off. Very consistent today. Nick has been very, very consistent. Nick's last two takeoffs were 12 feet apart, and this one is 15 feet shorter. So again, we're seeing differences in conditions, but very consistent overall. That overall win being most consistent is a fun thing. You've got guys who are trying for short, and you have guys who are trying for consistent. If they can win most consistent, they feel like they've won the real thing. Steve Henry now to the left. Power is completely out of the airplane now. He's getting it slow. Now he's riding that fine edge. It's a scratch. I don't know. Our line judge out there right now, I believe, is Jeremy, and I think that we're Jeremiah. We may have to have some conversations. That looked pretty good to me. Super Patriot. Chopping power early. Little blip. Got him across, but I think it got him a lot further than he expected. That wind dying out as he gets into the runway. Colin, get in the power. He does not want to see another scratch. It's a scratch after all. I know that's going to disappoint Colin. His performance here is directly linked to how his parents and friends feel about him. So we'll have to give him a hug and a high five and say, Colin, maybe tomorrow.
See you later. I'll be here. You know if you need me, you got my number.
Nick keeping the plane alive and touching a bit early. I'm beginning to question just how much fuel Steve had on board. Was he flying with 3 hours or something? A 90-minute STOL demo. Most of the pilots in the heavy touring class could only fly for about a third of it before they'd have to go refuel, because I know those guys, they're draining their tanks. They don't trust their fuel gauges. They're draining their tanks and meticulously putting in exactly what they need for the competition time, and only the competition time plus their 30-minute reserve. We'll see Warren Grobelar here later this week. Very much looking forward to seeing his performance in that beautiful 180 with the Valentino Rossi 46 on the side. Colin taking it back. I think that's a fuel break for Colin as well. Steve Henry and Cameron Simmons, our final two I see on the field. Nick now coming up behind him. We'll see if he has enough fuel. He just came over from the high school's hangar, so it's not too far for him. Oh my goodness. Big thanks to James Collin, Elizabeth Brennan, Kathy Henry, Roger Hawkins, all for being here. Elizabeth says that her father is here on the fire crew, on the line, helping keep these pilots safe. Cameron now in the Super Patriot. Nick looking for that most consistent possible control here. He has been working it out. We're going to see where we stand on most consistent. I think that Nick may very well be a contender. If you're live with us now here in person, please take your time if you want to see the scores. You can go to nationalstol.com/scoring, and you will see these scores as quickly as I do. In fact, you may be able to figure out the score system faster because I'm looking at a spreadsheet. But nationalstol.com/scoring. There you can also find more of information about what we do, where we're doing it next, and a possibility to buy merchandise and try things out. That said, if you're in the grandstands right now, look to your left. You'll obviously see airplanes flying in, but you also see a tent and a tower. And behind that tower is a table full of merchandise where you can get your own National STOL merchandise, stickers from Sun and Fun 2022 with National STOL on them. Just something to remember these incredible pilots and their performances. Please check them out because it helps us come back and do this more often. Steve Henry, low, under power, making it the safe call, dropping it in on those monstrous shocks. Absolutely amazing. Those are TK1 monster shocks, the same ones I have on my Kit Fox. And Steve puts them through some abuse. I feel like I might need to see a chiropractor after that landing, but he got it down and he got it stopped, and that's exactly what he's trying to do. Endless competitor, Steve will do what it takes. Cameron.
I think that's his daughter.
He's, again, that little bit of a boost, that little goose of power. I don't know Cameron's story yet, so I get to make it up. Cameron's story today is that this is his first STOL competition, his first STOL demo, and he's learning not to use power at that point. That might be completely wrong, but because he didn't tell me what his story was, we get to make it up for him. I see our friends from the Aero Club here at the line watching their student Nick slide in nice and quiet from the left. A little bit of throttle saved him. The wind again shifting more from the south and dissipating. As our competitors taxi back by, you wave at them, guys. You could be humans because they're humans too. These gentlemen are having the time of their life. This is what they came for. They came to play in the beautiful Florida sky, enjoying the weather, absolutely loving it. So here's some information I didn't know. A few weeks ago, I was at my airport, which is X-Ray 07, over there in Lake Wales, nice local spot. And I see a young man in a yellow airplane. The yellow airplane you see in front of you right now. Sitting there, twiddling his thumbs, waiting for the weather to clear because it was nasty out. And that's when I met Colin. I met him before here at these events, but I got to spend a little bit of time with him. And I learned something today I didn't even know. Look at Steve. We'll get back to my story in a moment. I said his name was Colin, but his name was Nick. Nick was at my airport, and Nick, I just found out, is running for the House of Representatives. He's a young man, but he wants to represent our best interests, and it's very interesting. I look forward to hearing more about his plans. Super Patriot, off in style. District 40, House of Representatives, seeing someone like Nick at his young age run for office is an interesting thing. I'm excited to hear what his platform is, and I hope it involves aviation and having everyone get their pilot's license. I think that one would probably do well here. Flying it off with ease. John Humbert just came up behind me, proving he actually has retired and run out of fuel. And he gave me something interesting. He gave me something that I think every pilot needs to prove. Like when a pilot goes to a party and everyone knows that they are a pilot because they tell everybody. I just got trading cards for a pilot. This is fantastic. Look at this, guys. This is a trading card with the Super 701 on one side and a picture of John looking as handsome as he possibly can be on the other. And he walks through everything in it, all his statistics, everything you'd expect, you know. So his occupation is cattle farmer, and his airplane is a UL powered with 130 horse. He's got lots of career highlights on here. Make sure you come and check these out. But now let's watch Steve Henry enjoying the smoother air but missing the wind. That turbo spool is real. He's got the lag. Oh, geez. Steve is down. We're going to have the next pilot will be going around. Heavy on that braking. That is the risk, guys. That is the risk, being heavy under braking like that. But that is one of the reasons why Steve wears a helmet and he's fully restrained in that cockpit. He's always doing his best to make sure that he stays as safe as possible. Up on the nose is not a bad thing. Steve is out of the cockpit. Everyone just enjoy the fact that we have this wonderful safety and recovery crew right there. Steve, the endless competitor, wanted that win. He wanted it more than anyone could possibly, aside from him. We love seeing these accident recovery units come out here immediately on the scene within seconds. That's the kind of response time that we look for at all air shows. And it's the kind of the response time that the team here at Paradise City has not only practiced for, planned for, and worked for, but have shown tonight that they are very capable. And that's exactly why we plan these events in such a manner that allows for maximum safety for both the participants and the spectators. As I said, for those of you guys who can't see, Steve is out of the airplane and looking A-OK. For those of you guys at home, I know the Henry family is watching. Please know that he has, I don't see a smile on his face yet, but he's waving to the crowd and he's checking out the airplane. I have a feeling that if I know Steve at all, he's trying to figure out how quickly he can get it back together and flying, hopefully for tomorrow's adventures. From what I could see, it looked like the left wing did not impact. We do have an impact of the propeller, of course. As it is an experimental airplane, we do have a lot more latitude of what we can do, but I know that we're going to see a live replay of this right now. They're going to be putting that replay together for you in just one moment. Getting the replay together right now, as I said, guys. If you're watching live, again, I apologize to the family of Steve. I know that was probably a heart-rending moment, but again, he's great, and that's the most important thing. Airplanes can be rebuilt, and people are a little more challenging.
Did you get that on the shock
Once again, ladies and gentlemen, if you're just walking up and you're seeing the crowd begin to grow, it's because we had a slight incident. However, Steve is completely healthy, the pilot of this aircraft. His health is our number one priority. We will be back to flying here potentially shortly once the FAA allows us to clear the aircraft. Members of the FAA, of course, because this is an air show, they are here on scene and they're doing their very best. Looking at the replay right now, you can see where that left main, he just dug in. I am not an accident investigation specialist, so I will not attempt to commentate and explain exactly what happened, but it does look like a failure of the main gear has happened after the fact. I can't tell if it was if this precipitated that or what, but we'll find out more information from Steve himself and from these videos. The live replay there for the folks watching online. Steve, we're glad you're safe. We see all of the line judges moving back across the field. We will be cutting our flying here in just a moment. For all of you guys here who have enjoyed this spectacle, feel free to hang out and talk to Steve afterwards. Make sure his heart's happy and he's going to get that airplane back together and flying for us as quickly as possible. For everyone else, we will be back here tomorrow. We do have the scores up on screen now. The best all around was 86 feet for Steve Henry. Run 3, the one we're on right now, was 91 feet. Run 1 was 96 feet. John Humbert in second place with 166 feet, and Colin Kassabinski in third with 271 feet. Gary Schmidt in the Just Aircraft Super STOL at 280 feet, just trailing by 9 feet. For all of you who've been watching, thank you so much for being a part of this event with us today. For all of you live here, we'll look forward to seeing you tomorrow. And for you guys online, obviously, we'll be bringing you all the greatest information and all the information we can on incidents and keeping these pilots as safe as possible. Thank you all so much for watching, and we will do a quick recap, I believe, of the events today. Going through the replays as we are right here, guys. Colin Kassabinski with that 287 feet. Nick, beautiful flying in that Patriot PA-18. Christian in his Just Aircraft Super STOL. John Humbert, of course, in the Super 701. Come see me for a playing card. All right. Well, ladies and gentlemen, that is it for me. Again, my name is Eric Farewell. Thank you so much for watching. Tomorrow night, the Paradigm Aerobatic team will be performing over at the main stage, weather allowing, and we had a great time hanging out with you here. I'll be back for more STOL on Thursday, but STOL will be broadcast tomorrow. Make sure you check it out, and make sure that if you're here in person, you come say hi to the pilots and cheer them on. The activity is what is the most exciting thing here on the field, and we look forward to sharing more with you soon. Have a great night. We'll see you later.
I got that right turn. We're good.
Let's meet up at the compound group up.
That's 10-4. Yeah, for sure, dog. Good little driver, straight on through.
When it's time to recover and paint your fabric-covered aircraft, look no further than AirTech Coatings. Since 1982, our FAA-approved system provides you with a shiny, durable, easy-to-apply product. The AirTech system has fewer steps than any other product on the market today, saving you both time and money. While using cutting-edge technology, we offer a wide range of products. Whether it's for work, play, antique, or aerobatic, we have you covered. Remember, we make paint fly.